What if the soul does not come to earth to be comforted, but to awaken? What if your pain was not a punishment, but a compass? And what if, before you were even born, your spirit chose her? Not because she was warm. Not because she was ready. But because her brokenness would shape the precise conditions for your rising. You see, there is something ancient about this wound. It did not begin with you. It's older than your name. Older than your childhood. Older than the stories you've carried like scars across your heart. This wound, the one that pulses every time you feel unloved, unseen, unchosen, is the echo of a lineage crying out to be healed through you. And the woman you called mother was simply the first mirror. A sacred mirror. A painful mirror. But a mirror nonetheless. Some wounds are loud. Obvious. Violent. Others are silent, like rooms filled with air no one breathes. Maybe she held you, but never looked into your soul. Maybe she fed you, clothed you, taught you right from wrong. But never truly saw you. Never honored your emotions. Never made space for your wild, messy, radiant truth. Or maybe she was drowning in her own unloved parts. Passing down the silence she inherited. Projecting her unhealed shame onto your softness. Dimming your light before it could name itself. Maybe she didn't mean to. Maybe she loved you the only way she knew how. But the wound formed anyway. And here's the truth most never dare to say aloud. Love, the kind that nurtures the soul, must be felt, not just given. It must be safe. Tender. Attuned. When it isn't, the child fragments. Part of her disappears, just to stay connected. She hides her needs. She performs. She shrinks. She pleases. And all the while, the soul whispers, "This is not love." But that whisper gets buried beneath the survival. And we grow up carrying a question we don't know how to ask. Why do I feel so empty? Why does love hurt? Why do I always choose people who cannot choose me back? And so begins the sacred unraveling. The journey that takes us not away from the mother, but through her shadow. To the place where the wound became identity. And deeper still, to the space where our soul remembers. You chose her. Before your first breath, your soul stood at the threshold of incarnation and said, "I will go where the wound is. I will enter that bloodline. I will carry the thread of healing where no one else could. Not from ego. Not from pride. But from a quiet devotion to the evolution of the whole. Because some souls don't come here to repeat stories. They come here to end them. And that's who you are. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not doomed to relive your mother's pain. You are the one who said yes. Yes to the silence. Yes to the absence. Yes to the ache of longing that would later become your compass. You said yes to forgetting, so that remembering would be meaningful. You did not choose comfort. You chose initiation. Because only through the ache of not being loved, could you learn what real love is. Not the kind you beg for. Not the kind you lose yourself to keep. But the kind that lives inside you, untouched, eternal, and whole. And still, it hurts. Even when you know the soul chose it, it hurts. Because the body remembers. The heart remembers. The little girl in you still waits by the door, hoping she'll turn around and say, "I see you. I love you." You never had to earn it. And maybe she never will. Maybe the apology won't come. Maybe she's still lost in her own shadows, blind to the light you've become. But you don't have to wait any longer. You are not here to be seen by her. You are here to see yourself. To hold yourself. To become the mother you always needed, within. And this is where the healing begins. Not with confrontation. Not with her validation. But with the sacred reclamation of what was always yours. Your innocence. Your voice. Your right to exist in joy, without permission. So much of healing is not about fixing what was done to you, but about unlearning what you did to survive it. And what you did, was disconnect. From your body. From your needs. From the parts of you that were too much for her to hold. You became smaller, quieter, more pleasing. You became what she could handle, and in doing so, you exiled your truth. That exile may have protected you as a child, but as an adult, it becomes a prison. You find yourself in relationships where you feel unseen, unheard, unsafe, not because you are destined to suffer, but because your soul is repeating the original environment, hoping you'll choose differently this time. Not to win love, but to reclaim it. This is how the mother wound weaves its way into our adult lives. It becomes the hidden architect of our boundaries, our self-worth, our capacity to receive. You date people who leave you emotionally starving, because starvation is familiar. You tolerate disrespect, because your nervous system thinks that's love. You overfunction, overgive, over-apologize, not because you're weak, but because your inner child still believes that love must be earned. But what if it doesn't have to be that way anymore? What if the pain you've been carrying isn't asking to be healed, but to be heard? To be witnessed, by the only person who can truly free it, you. Carl Jung taught that we all carry within us a mother imago, an internalized image of the mother, forged through early experiences. This imago lives in the unconscious and shapes how we relate to the feminine, to nourishment, to belonging. If your mother was cold, critical, absent, or enmeshed, that image can become distorted. And because it is unconscious, it casts long shadows over your life. Until you look at it directly. Until you ask, is this how I want to define love? Is this how I want to define myself? Jung also believed that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires us to confront and integrate these archetypes. Not to erase them, but to transform them. That is the work of the awakened soul. To take what was distorted, and make it sacred again. But how do you do that, when the pain still lives in your bones? You begin by turning inward, not to analyze, but to listen. You sit with the little girl who still cries in silence. You ask her, what did you need? And then, you give it to her. Not through fantasy, but through embodiment. You begin to speak your truth, even when your voice trembles. You begin to say no, not out of rebellion, but out of reverence. You begin to hold yourself, the way no one ever did. And piece by piece, you become the mother. Not the one you had. But the one you deserved. This is the alchemy. The sacred turning of pain into purpose. And it does not happen all at once. Healing the mother wound is not a linear path. It is circular, spiral, lunar. You will revisit the same place 1,000 times, and each time you'll find something new. A deeper truth. A gentler story. A stronger voice. Some days you will ache. Others, you will rise. But no matter where you are healing. Even when it hurts. Even when it's quiet. Even when no one else sees it. Because every time you choose yourself, you are undoing generations of forgetting. And that's something else no one tells you, you're not just healing for you. You're healing for your lineage. For the women who came before you, who were not allowed to feel. Who were silenced, shamed, sacrificed. You carry their stories in your cells. Their heartbreak lives in your bloodstream. But so does their strength. So does their longing to be free. When you hold your inner child with tenderness, you are also holding the little girl your mother once was. And her mother. And hers. And all the way back. You become the first to say, enough. It ends here. You are a cycle breaker. A soul healer. A torch carrier. That's not romantic. It's sacred. And it's hard. It means sitting with truths no one else wants to speak. It means feeling emotions that were buried for decades. It means making decisions that your family may not understand. It means becoming a new root in the family tree, one that grows in a different direction. But this is the beauty of soul work. It doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, compassion, and a willingness to begin again, every day. You may not have chosen what happened to you, but you are choosing what happens through you. You are no longer waiting to be loved the way you always wanted. You are becoming that love. Fierce, soft, unapologetic, real. The kind of love that doesn't need permission. The kind that doesn't vanish under pressure. The kind that says, I am here. And I am enough. This is what it means to remother yourself. To become your own sanctuary. To be the one you've always waited for. And yet, there's a part of you that still whispers, but why did it have to be this way? Why did I have to suffer through her silence, her rage, her distance? These questions are not weakness. They are sacred. They are the voice of a soul still in dialogue with the divine. And to them, we answer not with blame, but with meaning. The deeper spiritual truth is this: some souls are not born into loving arms because their mission is not to receive love, but to remember it. To excavate it from the ruins of what never was. To bring light into the darkest corners of their lineage. Your mother may not have loved you as you needed, but she gave you the doorway. Through her wound, you found your own light. That doesn't mean you need to stay close to her. It doesn't mean you owe her your energy, your time, your presence. Spiritual maturity means discerning where forgiveness is freedom, and where distance is safety. You do not have to reconcile with someone who is still a source of harm. You do not have to keep knocking on a door that refuses to open. The healing you seek will not be found in her change. It will be found in your choice. To stop reaching. To stop bleeding for her approval. To stop waiting for a version of her that may never exist. This is how you reclaim your life. Not through confrontation, but through surrender. Not through revenge, but through sovereignty. And as you rise from the ashes of that old role, the good daughter, the quiet one, the peacekeeper, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You discover that the love you sought was never outside of you. It lives in the way you now speak to your inner child. In the boundaries you uphold without guilt. In the way you no longer abandon yourself to be chosen. This is the spiritual reparenting. Not a concept, but a way of being. A new vibration. A return to wholeness. Where your inner masculine protects, and your inner feminine nurtures. Where you no longer outsource love, because you've become the source. Carl Jung spoke of the sacred union within, the marriage of opposites that leads to individuation. And perhaps, for those of us born to wounded mothers, this inner union becomes even more vital. Because we were never shown how to love ourselves, we had to learn it by remembering who we were before we were broken. We had to become alchemists. Mystics. Healers. Not because it was fair. But because our souls were ready. Because pain became the pressure that shaped our purpose. There is something else you should know. Something quiet. Something true. Your mother has her own pain. Her own wound. And it likely began long before she was born. She may have been raised by a woman who didn't know how to love. Who was taught to be hard, to survive, to endure. And so the pain was passed down. Not because it was deserved, but because it was never questioned. Until you. You are the question. The rupture. The soul who said, no more. And in doing so, you are not rejecting your lineage. You are redeeming it. You are giving it something it never had, a chance to heal. Through your tenderness. Through your voice. Through your refusal to become what hurt you. And as you walk this path, you may feel lonely. But know this, you are never alone. Every time you choose love over fear, presence over projection, compassion over control, your ancestors are watching. Not with judgment. But with awe. Because they know how heavy this work is. And how sacred. They know that healing through the mother is the work of lifetimes. And you, dear soul, are doing it now. And now, we arrive at the turning point, the sacred remembering. The moment when you stop trying to rewrite your past and instead begin to rewire your present. You are no longer the child standing at the edge of a locked door. You are the one holding the key. And it's not about changing her, it's about choosing you. Because every time you soothe your own fear, every time you name your own needs, every time you stay instead of abandon yourself, you are changing the frequency of your life. You are telling the universe, I am ready for love that does not require me to disappear. This is not easy. It's not a straight path. There will be days when the old ache returns. When you hear her voice in your head, questioning your worth. When you catch yourself shrinking in love, withholding your truth, repeating the silence. Don't shame yourself. That's just the echo of the old blueprint. A ghost of survival. What matters now is that you see it. That you pause. That you choose again. Every act of awareness is an act of liberation. Every small moment of self-compassion sends ripples across the timeline of your soul. And in those ripples, the pattern begins to dissolve. There may come a time when you wonder what all of this was for, the pain, the work, the endless unraveling. And the answer won't come in words. It will come in presence. In the way you speak to your child, your partner, yourself. In the way you stay grounded when love feels too big. In the way you hold others, not because you need to be needed, but because you finally know how to hold yourself. This is the fruit of the wound. The gold and the shadow. The sacred that only comes after the breaking. And if you never hear her say she's sorry, it's okay. If she never meets you where you are, it's okay. Because the apology that heals doesn't come from her lips. It comes from your choice to stop carrying what was never yours. It comes from your breath, your rituals, your voice. It comes from the way you now refuse to beg for crumbs when you were born to feast on the sacred. That's the revolution. That's the redefinition of love. Not something given by another, but something remembered within. Your healing does not depend on her awakening. Your freedom is not held hostage by her pain. You are not here to fix her. You are here to become whole. To grow roots in the soil of your own becoming. To become the mother you never had, not for her, not even for your children, but for the child inside you who waited far too long. And when you do that, when you choose her, when you love her, when you become her anchor, something shifts. The world softens. The future opens. And the line ends. So what now? You keep going. You keep choosing. You keep listening to the soft voice within you that says, I was made for more than survival. You give yourself the things she couldn't. Warmth. Safety. Permission. Space. You take the rituals and the journaling and the breath work and you make them more than practice, you make them home. You stop asking why she didn't, and you start asking how you will. How you will mother your joy. How you will protect your peace. How you will live beyond the echo. Because this is your time now. Not to forget the past, but to carry it differently. Not as a weight, but as a reminder of how far you've come. You are not the wound. You are the healing. You are not her pain. You are the miracle that emerged from it. And even if she never says it, I will say it now, you were always worthy. You never had to earn love. You are the one who breaks the chain, and becomes the light. Let this be the day you stop waiting. Let this be the day you begin again. Let this be the moment you walk forward. Not as the daughter of a wounded woman, but as the woman who chose to rise.